Hi. If you come across this video, I just ask that you take a few minutes out of your time, out of your day, your evening, whenever you come across this video, just to listen to the story. Some may find it helpful, some may denounce it, but either way, this message needs to get out. I'm going to talk about 3 warnings that I received personally for myself and, for the world. So I will discuss first about the dream I had about the rapture. So I was in this house, and the house was like, I guess, 2 stories. And I remember being in this room, and the room had like a beautiful big bay window. And the window was overlooking the city. If you're familiar with the Bay Area, it almost gives you the same vibe as like if you're in the Oakland Hills looking down at the city of Oakland, or if you're at Grizzly Peak and you can see, all of Oakland and Berkeley, Emeryville, San Francisco, etc. So it was almost like that. And I remember just gazing out the window, and I started to see things fly in the air. And so I'm looking and I'm seeing, some shoot up here, some shoot up there. And as I'm looking, it's dawning on me that, this is the rapture. And so as soon as I made that correlation that it was the rapture, I actually seen a light descending from the sky, and it was Jesus. And Jesus came out, and to me, it gave me the impression of, how like when you go to school in the morning and the teacher comes out to greet all of their students, and then make sure they make it into school. And so he came down and he was just looking upon everybody as they're descending up, and he started to turn around, and he's just looking, making sure there's not any stragglers, that no one's left behind that's supposed to be leaving. And so when I seen that he was turning to descend up, I called out to him and I said, "Jesus, what about me?" And so from the dream, when I said that, he came over to the window where I was, and he held out his hands like this, as if for me to give him my hands. And so I remember placing my hands in his, and he looked at them. And when I say this, I know some people are going to be like, oh, he's not a fortune teller, which I'm not saying that he was looking at my hands in that manner, but he was just analyzing them. Looks right here, look like this. And he said to me, "You're not pure enough yet. You're not ready to go." And he turned around and descended up back into the sky. And I remember, like, my heart dropped, because who wants to be told that? Who wants to actually be left in the world with, everything that's going on? And so I remember waking up, and the dream scared me, because it's just like I know that I wasn't living my life for the Lord. I was still living an ungodly life. And so I remember being scared for a little while, but it didn't deter me from living the life that I was living. So I remember maybe a year or 2 goes by, and I was having another dream. And in this dream, there was like this dark place, but it wasn't dark enough to where, you couldn't see anything around you. Like, I could see all these people, and the people went as far back as your eyes could see. But it was weird. It was like the shadowy shadow, I don't know. It's like a shadowy being. So almost as like it's a silhouette of a person, but you don't see their faces. You don't see, the actual person, you just see the silhouette. And I seen that it was 2 lines, And in the two lines, the people were going into these things that almost remind you of metal detectors. And so there's these two lines of people, and each person steps up to go through the metal detector. And so as soon as they step in, it's like a light that would go around the outside of the metal detector looking thing. And it was like if it turned green, that person immediately descended up. But if it turned red, they dropped down. So after a few times, I'm like, oh, this is like something to be like you're being judged almost. So I remember it finally got to my turn, and I was standing in there nervous, and as soon as it turned red, I dropped. And I still remember that feeling like I was dropping, and it's like you're bracing for impact, but you never meet the ground. Like you just continually drop. And I remember after so long of dropping, like I was screaming and stuff, I jolted out my sleep like as if I was dropped back into my body. And that like really scared me. That was very scary because like I said, I still hadn't turned from my ways. I still was living for me, not for the Lord. Now, this third experience was sort of different. It was almost like it wasn't a dream, but it was like an epiphany of some sorts, or I don't know if this, I think it was the Holy Spirit speaking to me, but during this time, it was like a time in my life. I was dealing with something very traumatic. I had broken my leg, and so I couldn't walk for like almost a year. And so at this time, it was like I was just able to stand to gain some mobility, but I couldn't walk freely. Like I had to use walkers or a cane to get, around. And I remember being asleep, and it was like a good sleep. And all of a sudden I got woken up because I kept hearing this sound. Now the sound gives you the impression like, if you lived in the projects or whatever, and when the smoke alarm goes, like the battery starts going out, it's like the beep, and then it sometimes goes by and it keeps beeping. It was the smoke detector, but it was a different sound. Like it was something that I've never heard before from a smoke detector. And so I remember like sitting there for a minute. I was like, well, what is that sound, And then my mom ended up getting up. But it was like once I finally awoke enough to see like, okay, something's wrong. Like we never heard that before. I just got this overwhelming feeling like something, like there's a message behind this. So I remember saying, Lord, just please tell me what's going on. What is the meaning behind this? And immediately when I said that, I got this message, and it was saying, if I were to come right now, would you be ready? And I was like, would I be ready? Like, And so it was saying like, if that was me right now, would you be ready? And to sidetrack from that, it made me think like, okay, if it was a fire right now, me and my family were not ready. We're not prepared. We weren't ready. I'm gonna just keep it 100 with y'all. We wouldn't be ready. We wouldn't have been able to make it out the house. We were not aware. It took us too long to wake up. We wouldn't have made it. So with that, I kept getting the message like, if that were me calling you home right now, you wouldn't have been ready. It's almost like the effect, like when in the Bible it say, my children will hear my voice or know my voice, know that it is me. And it's like the amount of time it took for me to realize the magnitude of what was going on. It was just like we wouldn't have been ready. So I was just like awestruck with the message, and I just was like, I was overwhelmed. And so I kept hearing in my head, look at the time, look at the time. So I'm like, okay, I looked at the time, I noted the time. So I'm like overwhelmed with emotion. I'm trying to explain to my mom, like, what message just came to me. And she's like still half asleep a little bit, so she's not she's not awake to correlate. So I'm explaining it to her. So as I'm explaining it to her, I'm getting my phone because I have the Bible app, and I'm like, okay, it kept saying look at the time. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, let me start to look up scriptures that match the time. The time was 2:17. So I'm going through each book in the Bible on my Bible app, and I got to Acts 2:17. And when I tell you, when I read Acts 2:17 all the way from 2:17 to 2:21, I literally was overwhelmed with emotion. I'm getting teary-eyed right now because it's just so amazing. And I just want to share this with you all. So Acts 2:17. It says, in the last days, God said, I will pour out my Holy Spirit upon all mankind, and your sons and daughters shall prophesy, and your young men shall see visions, and your old men dream dreams. Yes, the Holy Spirit shall come upon all my servants, men and women alike, and they shall prophesy. And I will cause strange demonstrations in the heavens and on earth, blood and fire, and clouds of smoke. The sun shall turn back, and the moon blood red, before the awesome day of the Lord arrives. But anyone who asks for mercy from the Lord shall have it and shall be saved. When I tell you, each of those instances, they really scare me, but really, like, with the day and time we're in right now, it's getting real out here. And it's time to start choosing who you're going to serve. And I just wanted to share this with someone who still may be on the fence, who still may be dealing with their fleshly ties, to the world, and just, it's time to get it together. It's time to really choose whose side you're going to be on, and to really get your heart, your mind, and your spirit prepared, because he is coming soon. And I look at each one of those instances as a warning. And, it is hard to turn from your ways, especially when you spent years being a certain way, living a certain way. It's hard. I'm not going to sit here and say it's easy, but it's so worth it. I'm just praying for everyone, sending everyone love, virtual love, prayer, and just encouragement. And I just ask that each of you pray and really ask the Lord to reveal himself to you and to really get it together. I don't want to perish and be left here. And I don't want any of my Christian brothers and sisters to be left here either, or even my brothers and sisters who may not believe in religion. Just, it's really time to pick a side and to really choose who you're going to serve, because the Lord is coming. It's not a game anymore. It's not a joke. So I just hope you take this message as a sign and as a warning yourself to get it together. God bless.